For the record, this matter is before the court on the defendant's motion for order to show cause. This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. The defendant moving party, Sheila Hall, is present. In addition, Attorney Stephen Jednick is present representing the plaintiff, Derek Verley. Mr. Jednick, you'll be filing an appearance. Is that correct?
I've been the attorney on this case right along the last year. I assume with the short turnaround, my appearance still continued, but I've been the attorney of record since the beginning.
Okay. That's the challenge of family court cases. If people are attorneys around a case for one limited appearance and then they're off. But in any event, Mr. Jednick is present on behalf of the plaintiff, Father Derek Verley. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The parties have conferred with Mr. Walker this morning from the front of the court. Mr. Walker has provided the court with fine recommendation that the mother shall personally provide the breast milk to father when he picks up the minor child. Of course, this is frozen breast milk, so dad's got to make sure he's gets in the freezer. If any third party is going to pick up the minor child, that was issue with the grandparents. So if any third party is going to pick up the minor child, and works both ways, the party shall communicate through AppClose who will be picking up or dropping off the child. If either parent has a minor child for over 24-hour period, the other party may ask for an update via AppClose regarding the minor child up to 2 times within that 24-hour period at reasonable times. And lastly, that this resolves the motion for to show cause. It's just a matter of communication, Mr. Verley and Ms. Hall. In any event, Mr. Jednick, this recommendation will be with your client this morning.
It is. We accept.
Ms. Hall, do you understand the recommendation?
I understand it. I don't agree with me having to give him the breast milk since I'm in my own classroom and he's never had a problem with opening the fridge that's in my son's classroom and grabbing it. They always tell him it's in there.
And I'm sorry, in the past, you've always handed it to him. What if you're busy or tied up or something?
So I don't work in my son's classroom. He has 3 teachers, and the fridge freezer is in his classroom, and they tell him, Derek, the breast milk is in the fridge.
Okay. And
So
sometimes
I
you're
don't
tied up in another
understand why
class.
I'm sorry,
the
Judge.
problem you're sometimes you're type of in a class when he picks up the child?
I'm in my own classroom, yes. And
Okay.
at this time, it's rest time, and I'm always in the classroom at rest time. And I can't just leave my sleeping children to go give him breast milk.
Okay. Well, that's a legitimate issue, Mr. Jednick.
And the reason why the recommendation came into place was that there's times where there's breast milk isn't there. So the whole point that was recommended was to alleviate the back and forth of who got it and who didn't get it. If Ms. Hall was giving it personally to Mr. Verley, that's going to cut out the did he get it? Did he not pick it up? Because sometimes the breast milk isn't there. And that's a contention against Mr. Verley. And we're just concerned about him being accused of violating a court order if the milk wasn't there in the first place. But the handoff will stop all that, especially given the current communication issues with the parties.
Right. Ms. Hall, do you have a refrigerator in your classroom?
I do not.
Okay.
It's always in my son's room. And I'm going to let you know that I didn't give milk to him once because I didn't have it to give it to him. So all the things that he's done, he's never gotten in trouble for, but I'm being blamed for not giving him milk once. And I did tell him that. I let him know in the app. I do not have
no one's blaming anyone for anything. Let's just straighten this out. What makes the most sense for both of you? There's enough challenges in life. Let's make life good for each other. Obviously, if she can't leave the classroom and give them the milk, then that's an issue, Mr. Jednick. We need to address that. And I thought the primary issue was the third parties, like the paternal grandparents, pick up the child and not checking the freezer.
It was. This came up during the course of talking in front of the court. So, I mean, and the child's weaning off breast milk. We're hoping this isn't going to be an issue for too much longer. But no, that was to protect Mr. Verley from the allegations he didn't pick it up. If she's handing it to him, that's going to nip that in the butt. So unless she's going to back off of those allegations going forward, especially as Braylon transitions out of breast milk, we're just trying to protect him.
Well, any reason why even picks up the child, he can't just check the freezer? Obviously, I'm sure it's labeled.
He's done it before, Judge. He had no problem opening the fridge, and the teachers always let him know that there's breast milk in the fridge. There was breast milk in the fridge the whole time last week. It was 1 6-ounce frozen block and he never took it. So I put that frozen block in with the other 6 frozen blocks for last weekend, and he even refused to take that. He said, my son drinks formula when he's with me. And I can even have the teachers come in and talk to you if need be.
And the staff doesn't inform, and we're dragging a bunch of third parties in here to police the breast milk. If she hands it to him, that kills the issue. And
Right,
again,
Mr. Jenner,
we have a child weaning off breast milk. So,
Mr. Jenner, she can't leave the room she's in. She can't leave children unattended to walk to Mr. Really. So either we change the parenting time pickup, or he goes to the freezer to pick it up. I mean, I'm just trying to be common sense here. I mean, why wouldn't he check the freezer?
and he checks it. I mean, if we want to do, she sends a snapshot or some communication saying, "Hey, milk's in the freezer." That might do it too.
Can't we assume there's milk in the freezer every day? He picks up the child.
You can, but if she's not, she indicates she's having difficulty producing. Some days there might not be. So maybe she just needs to take a picture or communicate that. Then he knows to get it. Then it's on him.
Is it that difficult just to check the freezer?
Apparently.
Hold on, Miss Hall. Mr. Jenick, is it difficult for Mr. Really just to check the freezer?
Not at all. But again, if he checks, I want the allegation that he wasn't informed there's milk there or that he didn't look or something like that. So if she says, hey, it's there, especially now that she's weaning off of it, then he's on notice to get it. And that's on him if he don't. That's what I'm saying.
Well, again, until I guess when you're no longer providing breast milk, Miss Hall, you should notify Mr. Verley. But in the meantime, Mr. Verley should check the freezer every day.
And it's always been in the same place, Judge. It's always been in the top part of the freezer. There's always, I mean, in the beginning it was 2, and now it's only 1.
All right.
And lately it's been, I'm doing, I will give him a block of 3-ounce because where I am, my body's not producing as much.
All right.
So he's been mixing 3 ounces of formula.
All right, the court's going to modify the recommendation, Ms. Hall and Mr. Jadnik, Mr. Verley, that father shall check the freezer in the child's classroom every time he picks up. And Ms. Hall, when you're no longer producing breast milk and you're not providing it, notify Mr. Verley so he's not looking for it when in fact you're not providing it. So the court will assume that. Hold on, the court will assume that you're going to put in the freezer every time and dad picks up the child, unless you tell him otherwise. He's going to check that freezer. Okay.
Yes, I will. I have no problem with that, Judge.
So, Mr. Walker, good morning. If you could just change maybe that first sentence, the recommendation that father shall pick up breast milk from the freezer in the child's classroom when he picks up the child. Okay, what about the remainder of the recommendation, Ms. Hall, that if any party, third party is going to pick up the child, the party shall communicate if the apples who will be picking up or dropping off. And if either parent has a child for more than 24 hours, over a 24-hour period, the other parent can ask for an update regarding the minor child up to 2 times within the 24-hour period at reasonable times. Are you any objection to that provision?
I mean, I would prefer if Derek is the only one that picks up, but
and sometimes the reality is sometimes we're all busy, so it's not unreasonable as long as the child. Well, obviously it's still a young child, but as long as it's a person that you're comfortable with, it's not some. We're talking in this case, it's grandparents, right?
But they don't like me. They don't even want to have communication with me, and they didn't even want to let me know that they had my son when Derek refused to tell me where my son was.
Mr. Verley, that's on you. You need to communicate. You need to communicate with the mother of your child. Otherwise, you're going to have a very difficult 18 years. You'll be back in court. You need to communicate. Have you both completed a SMILE program?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you completed the SMILE program? SMILE, Smart, Start, Make It Livable for Everyone.
No.
I don't think that was ordered.
Okay, the court's can order Mr. Walker, both parties shall complete the SMILE program, and we'll provide you with instructions. It's an acronym for Start, Make It Livable for Everyone. You need to learn to co-parent.
I know how to co-parent, Judge.
Ms. Hall, the court's going to order you, both of you, to complete the SMILE program so you can communicate better. And yes, it's not unreasonable for grandparents now, but some third party that's that you don't know who it is, Ms. Hall. Obviously, if it's other than grandparents, you should inform the other. And this order says you shall communicate who's going to pick up the child. If in fact you have a problem, Ms. Hall, and you don't know this person, then you bring it back before the court. Should be parties that know the child. And yeah, grandparents is appropriate. But again, you may need some help in the future too, Ms. Hall, transporting the child and rely upon your parents. So it's not unreasonable.
What I think is unreasonable is if when I try to get in contact with them and they ignore me on purpose. Like it takes 2 seconds to tell me, yes, your child is with me and he is safe and he's fine.
That's Mr. Verley, you respond. When you get a text from Ms. Hall, you need to respond promptly and timely. Do you understand that?
Yeah, with it's reasonable text.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, I mean, it's a common courtesy. And no different than when you can't reach the child, you have no idea where your child's at, and Ms. Hall refused to communicate with you, respond. It's a little frustrating.
I shouldn't have had to do a welfare check on my child.
And that was no reaction. That's an abuse of police resources. She uses the police all the time. Well, that's her right.
No,
she's going to make false reports of kidnapping to get the police out there. That's a problem, and she needs to be cautious.
Well, we reach out to Dad and Mr. Verley. You should time to respond. It'll eliminate the need for these welfare checks. The court agrees that the police have more important things to do, but Mr. Verley should timely respond.
Judge, the only reason why I did it is because Derek normally responds to me, and I had not heard from him. I had got a hold of his mom. I had not heard from them. So I'm sorry, but it had been like 20 hours and I didn't know where my son was. The court understands that. And it's probably a legitimate call when in fact, people just refuse to respond to you. They should not respond. And Mr. Verley, I trust you're listening to the court, Mr. Verley, and you'll respond in a timely fashion. Why don't you talk with Mr. Jednick and then you can listen to the court, Mr. Verley. Go ahead. You hear what the court said, Mr. Verley?
Yes, I did.
What did I say?
If I have to communicate at all times,
timely, Mr. Verley. So it's common courtesy. If your parents going to be with the children for the day, that you're going to let them know. You should suggest to your parents too. What if something happens to you later in life? Do you think your parents want to have a relationship with your child? They better develop a relationship with Miss Hall.
I mean,
something happens to you later in life, and they want grandparenting time. She's gonna shut them off. So you need to tell your parents that they need to act like adult grandparents as well and communicate with the mother of the child.
Judge, I would really like it in writing in the order that when they have him, they have to communicate with me.
I have no jurisdiction over the grandparents. I have jurisdiction over the two of you and the child. So with Mr. Verley, if Mr. Verley is not going to cooperate, he's not going to respond timely, then yes, we can modify his parenting time, Ms. Hall. That's what the answer is. And curtail his parenting time.
Because I have a feeling that they think that I'm trying to not give Braylon time with them. I don't care. Yes, that's family. I want him to know his grandparents. I want him to know other extended family, but he obviously, I don't know. He has no respect for me. And if it's not written in the order, he doesn't care. He has no common courtesy for me.
Well, I'll bring it back to court if there's a future promise, Ms. Hall, but at this point in time, the court's going to order that father to check the freezer at school for breast milk every time he picks up the child. And again, the remainder of the recommendation, the court will adopt that if any third party is going to pick up the child, the party shall communicate through APCOS who's going to pick it up and drop it off the child. You need to do that time, Mr. Verley. If you know you're not going to pick up the child, you need to make sure your parents check that freezer. If you're not making sure they're doing that, then we're gonna modify parenting time.
Okay.
Because his mom was informed that milk was in there and she refused to take it.
I don't know why she would do that. I mean, you think a mother would appreciate the value of breast milk. In any event, anything further this morning, Mr. Jednick?
No, thank you.
All right, and they were going to add to both parties shall complete the SMILE program. So next time you come to court, that's the first question the court's going to ask. Have you completed the program? So make sure you complete that. Anything further, Mr. Hall?
You, are you going to, how is that going to be, sent to me? Like, is it in person or?
No, it's online.
Okay.
Mr. Walker will send instructions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All
Your
right,
Honor, that updated recommendation should be in your queue now.
thank you, Mr. Walker. All right, that'll conclude this hearing. Again, Mr. Verley and Ms. Hall, work together. Communication is the key. Make it good for each other.
I'm trying my best, but he doesn't know how to co-parent.
Okay, all right, that will conclude this matter. We can zoom out. Have a good rest day. Thank you, Mr. Jednak.